In my last video I argued that morality depends on knowledge, and that is the theory of knowledge, how you actually gain it. So how do you actually do that? How do you gain knowledge? Most people believe it is merely a list of facts, and that you encounter new facts and then you know more. That's not how it is. You learn, you realize, you expand your vision by forming concepts. That's the way how to realize. I want to give you an example by giving you more concepts. And those concepts won't represent facts. I won't tell you anything you don't already know. I just give you some concepts and claim that afterwards you will be able to see something you didn't see before. Relatively likely anyway. The only assumption I make is that you can speak. Vocabulary, words. I want you to form concepts about vocabulary. I want you to divide all the words you know into 3 categories. The first is the mathematical words. That is, or, and, despite, because. I call this mathematical for a specific reason, but that reason doesn't really matter at the moment. Those words are characterized by an extreme absolute meaning. Yeah, there is no fuzziness whatsoever what or means, or and. There's no gray area between the two at all. The remaining words fall in 2 further categories. One of it are all the words you would have if you were the only man on the world, the only living, thinking thing on the world. Theoretically, yeah, let's just suppose you were alone in the world and you would have to figure out everything yourself, but you're far more intelligent than a human being is, and you live far longer, you live eternally. And you could have figured it out, what mankind knows today, everything by yourself. You would still need some sort of language. You would still need something, some concrete, as Rand would say it, to identify properly. For example, you would still need something in your head that denotes what a table is. And maybe that's just the image of a table. You've seen a table once and you associate that image of that concrete table you've seen with the concept table. That's okay. But there are things like time or gravity that are not of that nature, and you need some symbols. You need some concrete representative in order to hold this concept in your mind. Time, for example. And with time, it's just the word time. You do not need other people to see the necessity of such a thing, such as language. Language is not only communication, it is also necessary to realize things for yourself. And all the words, all the terms that you would have without other people, those who are not necessitated by the presence of other people in the world, those words I call the natural words. The remaining words, which are necessitated by the presence of other people, those I call the human words. And those names are peculiar, perhaps, but I name them because there's a tradition in the sciences for exactly that distinction. There's maths, and then there is the natural sciences, and then there's here the humanities. And the words of human language fall into those categories. So now, those are the 2 new concepts, and I'm pretty sure that you haven't really formulated those concepts in that rigorosity in your mind, because I made it up, and I haven't had a concrete source for it. So that's why the chance is very high that you haven't made those concepts. But there is no fact involved here. There's nothing I told you that you didn't know as a fact of reality. I just suggested that you group together certain objects you know about into new concepts. And now let's observe how we can learn something that we didn't see before. There are some statements about maths or and. There are certain laws, logical laws you can observe, and they can be right or wrong. And it's pretty precise. Yeah, there's no argument about them. And there is no disagreement. In the science of maths, there is practically no disagreement whatsoever. They are razor sharp in their reasoning. Then the natural sciences, there is a little bit of disagreement, but in large they're very successful. And what they say isn't fuzzy or strange or imprecise. They are relatively concrete, what they mean, and they're very successful, as I said. Yeah, airplanes in the sky, cars on the street, mankind has split the atom and was visiting the moon. All of that is an offspring of the natural sciences. That is successful science. And when in everyday life you observe the natural words, table, tree, doorknob, there's really little fuzziness about what they mean. There's some words have a more fuzzy meaning, but you can usually see where the fuzziness came from, and usually it has historical origins. For example, the word was imported from another language, and there's some inaccuracies that come from there. There's really little suspicious. It doesn't make you suspicious, I believe. But for the human words, this is entirely different. The human words, for example, worth is a human word. Of course, even if you're alone in the world, you would probably say something like, something is dear to me, or I want something, or I hold something in value. But it wouldn't really be that necessary, because it is only when other people are there in the world too that it is really necessary to determine value. If you're alone, you only have to bring in order what you value more than other things. But it is very much when other people are in the world that values need to be compared. What do you want more than another? What are you willing to trade with another person? That is why the word value, even though it's quite on the border between natural and human, tends to be a little bit more to the human side, because it becomes important, very important, in the presence of other human beings, other than, for example, doorknob, which has nothing to do with other human beings. You might have a doorknob even if you're the only human being around. And now observe how weird the word value is. People say, for example, people are of equal value. At the same time, they say a house has high value. Now, if I take the meaning to be the same, then the statement people are of the same value is wrong. It's just stupid. It's wrong. Yeah, there's nothing about it. And I do not mean that they haven't equal rights or something like that. We're talking about value. And if you tell that to people, if you say, oh, that statement isn't correct, it's incorrect, that statement, they're not of equal value, then they get excited. And if you explain to them, oh, whoa, wait a minute, I don't mean that there should be any consequences, I don't mean that we shouldn't have equal rights, I don't mean that I don't like you, or I don't mean any of this, I just want to have my language pure, okay? I just want that the word value has an objective meaning. That is not enough to appease them. Why? Now you might argue, well, this is because people are scared of the consequences. If you say people are not of equal value, then this is a harsh thing to say. It's a harsh reality, really. Yeah? Some people are brilliant, some people are simple, some people have useful knowledge, some people have acquired a large amount of knowledge which turns out not to be useful. The differences. And that, of course, yeah, in a way it's perhaps sad, but if that's the only reason why people find the statement people are different in value gross, if that is really the only reason, why does one hear the statement they're of equal value so often? Because if it's only a gross reality people want to avoid, why do they talk about it so much? There has to be another reason. Something else is going on. Another example for a human value. Another example is the word duty, obligation, which can mean very, very different things. I could, three meanings come to mind immediately. The first is, I have to do something or else a legal system cracks down on me. Or I have to refrain from doing something so that the legal system cracks down on me. Yeah, that is law. I have a duty or I have an obligation according to the law or to the legal system. Then there is social pressure. I have to do something in order to be liked, in order to conform to the norms. That's another meaning. They're kind of related because, of course, the law is modeled, often enough modeled after conventions. But there's a third meaning which is far away, and that is I have a duty or an obligation to do something in order so that other people find me trustworthy in the case where I give a promise. I promise something to people, and therefore I will keep the promise so that other people would think, hey, this guy is reliable. It's in my self-interest. These things have nothing whatsoever to do with each other, especially the last thing not to do with the first two. It's completely different meaning. And now observe this, compare this with natural words. For example, pines and oaks. Two different trees, two different names. Everyone knows those names. And they're of a precision. There's no confusion about what an oak is. In contrast to a pine, not at all. Yet what duty is an obligation, it's really fuzzy. And isn't this weird? Because I don't really care that much about pines and oaks. I don't really care what the difference is. It has very, very little practical import to my life. Whereas duty, obligation, I mean, these things are important to everyone. Shouldn't you think that the words you need most, the concepts that are most important to you, are the ones that are defined the most precise, well thought out? Yet it seems that it is exactly the other way around. The less important the topic, the more precise the language. Maths, yeah. Algebraic topology, knot theory and whatnot, these things are precise, razor sharp, brilliantly precise. Natural sciences, a little bit more fuzzy, still very precise. And where it gets to the root, to the core of human relationship, language ceases to exist. You cannot talk about it because there are no words. The words are not defined. They're corrupted, muddled up, mixed together. Why? And there's another interesting observation. The humanities, the science built on it, they're not really successful. The natural sciences are, the humanities, well, not really, are they? Now you might argue, well, yeah, but we don't really want that. We don't really want that this is all made precise and analyzed and defined and categorized. It doesn't really feel right. Why? Why doesn't it feel right? Have you ever heard someone say that mankind is far developed in terms of technological advancement? We've been to the moon, split the atom. But what we not did, what we failed to do, is to be peaceful, well-meaning with each other. We have failed to abolish war, poverty, all those things. Yeah, all those things that fall squarely into the responsibility of the humanities. Those are all the things we failed at. And the words on which they base are exactly those that have little or no meaning.